Hey guys, it's Chris Mustache and I'm coming at you with another review. It's coming in hot this time, guys. Get prepared. So today I'll be reviewing A Quiet Place, directed by John Krasinski. So first let me give you guys a quick overview of the movie. If you haven't heard about it already, it's got a lot of buzz. A Quiet Place is about a family living in a post-apocalyptic world where they need to be silent to avoid attracting beasts. So this film is a unique take on the horror survival genre. Because that the essence of this film, the characters couldn't speak as much, it really created a very different type of feel than other films, not even just horror, just cinema in general. There's very little dialogue because it's the nature of the movie, which really offered a stress on the visual style and telling a story through silence, which is a very beautiful thing if done correctly, which this film did very well. It helped establish the relationship between all the characters, what their objectives are. It was very clear because it's a very simple movie. They just need to survive and they want to maintain a happy, safe family. So those kind of themes were very easy to understand, and because it was also silent, that gave that new fresh, something different to take in when you're watching this film. Also, I like the pacing of the writing in this movie, and the pacing is attributed to the editing as well, so those two come hand in hand. But the writing and the editing together really helped make this film speed up when it needed to and slow down. So sped up when the action started building up, slowed down when those quiet moments, when the family's just sitting together trying to just enjoy a meal, enjoy each other's company, instead of being consumed with the constant worry of what's going to happen outside. The very opening sequence of this film really gives a great sense of what it's going to be about afterwards. So we really know, they establish everything very early on, that no, you cannot speak or else these animals or these beasts will come after you, and that there's this family that all they're trying to do is trying to survive. So that was a very simple frame to start building off of. What I also like was the monster design. I thought it was cool looking, very fleshy, very demonic. It was a very cool look that I really enjoyed. And the cinematography fit for every scene. So you get a lot of shaky cam when the action is being built, and then you start getting that steady cam when everything is calm, everything is serene. So what I didn't like most about this movie is when the characters finally did speak. And when you create a film that's going to be silent most of the time, when your characters do speak, it better be good. It better be great. It better feel organic. It better not feel awkward. That could be attributed to the actors as well. It should just be really strong. And when the actors finally did speak, it was very uncomfortable. And I didn't really think they deserved what they were saying. It felt like the writers they had an intention and they made the characters speak it without the characters feeling organic themselves. And when I go into the acting a little bit, the lead actress, the lead daughter, I didn't really like too much. I thought she was a little too exaggerated. She was sort of creating a caricature of how a child would act, but not how a child actually acts. And of course, that's my own perspective. That's how I feel about that. So now I want to talk a little bit more about the dialogue and how I didn't really enjoy it, but there's going to be a spoiler in this part. So, big spoiler splash. Spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. So, there's a moment in this movie when the oldest son finally talks to John Krasinski. They get away. They sneak away to a waterfall where they can finally talk to each other. And the son says something so insightful that it felt, like I said, the writers were just trying to spoon feed this character something that they were intending, that they wanted to bring a point across, because they thought the audience was too dumb to realize this. But you know what? The one thing I've always noticed about films, the better ones are the ones where you assume the audience is smart and you don't need to keep hammering over details. So the son says something along the lines of how he notices that the daughter has blamed herself for their youngest child's death. And that kind of keen insight, that kind of awareness from a child doesn't seem to deserve, especially in this kid's case, because we don't get any sort of indication that he's this insightful person. He's a little bit sensitive, he's a little bit afraid, but that doesn't really necessarily mean that he can understand these emotions, or he would just say this bluntly without any precedence. I think that was also the issue, that there was no preface to him being that insightful. It wasn't like him and his dad were talking about, the troubles that their family's facing. It was just right into it, because that was one of the only pieces of dialogue that is in this film. So, like I said, if you're going to do this, you better do it right. Or, alternatively, I would hope that if you want to make this a silent film, you should have just made this whole thing silent. That would have been great. That would have been a very big leap forward, a very drastic step to take away from everyone's expectations. So I really liked how this film took a daring approach to the horror survivor genre. It took away that dialogue. It really made it bare and made it, nice and straightforward. It sort of reminded me a little bit of The Road, if you ever saw that movie, and a similar vibe where it's very survival, very bleak, but in The Road there isn't really as much hope, but here in A Quiet Place, if you're a little bit more sensitive to it, if you like a little bit happier stuff, that's where you could sort of find that there's more of they give you a better reason to like these characters. But I think that what failed in this movie was that they should have just went full 100% with the idea that everyone can't speak, because that would have been the best approach to this film, just because the dialogue wasn't very good. So that would have made this film bring it to that next level, because we're in an age of cinema where we're very dialogue heavy, where we have people like Quentin Tarantino, Aaron Sorkin, that make their movies based around dialogue, while this film was all about the visuals, all about the action, and that those momentary glimpses into the dialogue wasn't as good as I hoped it would be. So I'm going to give this film a 6 out of 10. I would highly recommend to anyone who's in the mood for this type of film, that wants to watch a survival horror movie. And I think it is a very monumental film. I think it will be known in the history books as something new, something that dared to be different. But I think the problem was that it didn't really go the full 100% that it wanted to. The filmmakers, whether they were being pressured by the studio or they were thinking that they need to appease their audience, really pandered to that when they finally did include that dialogue. And also another part that I didn't really like too much was the development of the family. It felt very generic and it was too long. And with me, when it comes to movies, I look at movies in terms of proportions because it's based off time. That's sort of the interesting part about film as an art, that it is something you're watching over a period of time, and you need to proportion that time appropriately towards the goal that you're trying to achieve. And with this film, I felt like they spent too much on Act 1, too much developing John Krasinski and his family, when it's very simple and straightforward. Like I said, you could have easily trimmed that down, sort of shortened it up, and go straight into Act 2. I understand that this is a family that's distraught, that the husband and wife love each other, all that kind of stuff. It's very generic, very played out. We've seen it in a lot of films. So if we were cutting that part out, this film would have been on a whole nother level. But again, like I said, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 and highly recommend to watch if anyone's trying to watch this type of genre. It's on Netflix, so check it out. Is it on Netflix? Well, it's on streaming services, so you'll find it somewhere, guys. And that'll do it for me. I'll see you guys next time.